And in light of the fact that we had already been looking at an internal audit to be conducted, we said it's also important for us to have an external audit performed as well. So what is the difference? And I tell folks in a very simplistic nutshell way, the internal audit is looking at the fiscal books and what's happening in HISD and the allocation of funding. How much money has been spent to date, how much money is encumbered, and what money remains. The external audit will look at things from a macro perspective, bringing in an external specialist who has construction audit experience. That person with construction audit experience can look at the finances, but also has the training and the expertise to be able to say, what are the industry standards? What are the expectations of how to appropriately roll out a bond program of this size and magnitude, looking at quality control measures that are in place, how to appropriately and effectively manage a bond program of this size, how can we look at industry standards, bringing in the perspective of cost containment and the effective and efficient usage of public dollars. Bring it to the board as a measure that needs to be voted on, and we are working for that to be on the agenda in October. We have to establish a community's trust, and we have to be able to look at every single dollar that it be effectively and efficiently used to help construct these projects and programs that we promised to the community.
We fully support the call for an external audit because we cannot continue business as usual. Those of us in positions of authority have a responsibility to demand higher standards for the bond program and for the school district in general. We call for special outside counsel to fully investigate the audit results and make recommendations for fixing the bond, up to and including termination of staff if it's found that they violated financial rules through negligence or conscious action. It is vitally important that we have outside objective investigatory powers move into place here. We have no less than 3 sitting trustees that at best have questionable relationships with current or previous contract vendors within HISD. It is important, if we're going to rebuild the trust in the district, that we make sure that that objectivity is taken throughout and that no one currently connected to the district feels in any way, shape, or form fettered or are facing any obstacles to clear transparency and ensuring that the community understands the truth of what's going on with our bond money. The idea that certain high schools may not be rebuilt is unacceptable. We simply will not stand for that answer. We heard from the Yates High School community at the last school board meeting, and we also heard from teachers and community members and parents at Davis High School that they had told that their school may not be rebuilt. That is simply unacceptable.
We're going to fight until we get what was promised to us. We don't want no more, but we don't want no less either.
$47 million, and all Davis stands to get is repairs. HISD wants us to believe that this is the first time they've ever built a school, that they didn't know inflation would be so high, that material would be so high, that labor would be so high. This isn't the first rodeo for them. So why can they sit back and tell us that their initial assessment of a school that's 88 years old was done inadequately, and now 3 years later they've done a better assessment, and in their opinion all we can do is get repairs? They asked us to get out there and campaign and help them pass it. We passed it. We were promised a new school. Now all we do is stand to get is repairs. No transparency, no accountability. Someone should be held accountable. If they misjudge their numbers that greatly, they need to be held accountable.
When we discuss accountability, accountability starts at the top. It starts with our trustees to ensure that they maintain appropriate ethical standards when it comes to dealing with contracts, when it comes to dealing with vendors. Part of the issue that has us concerned, this cannot be an opportunity to let anyone off the hook. The buck stops with the superintendent, with the CEO of the district. we don't want any buyout packages. As far as we're concerned, he's resigned. You know, unfortunately, I know what's in some of those contracts, having to look at them and approve similar ones myself. That there is often the opportunity to buy out leave days, sick days that turn into thousands and thousands of dollars at the end of the contract period. We need to have a clear understanding of what we're dealing with the bond and the responsibilities before any final action is taken, regardless of what's in the contract at this point. The money. When we follow the money, we will get the answers that we need to start rebuilding our district, rebuild the trust, rebuild the schools, rebuild and repair the relationships between the leadership and the rest of the stakeholders.
How many schools have been rebuilt since the fund was approved? None?
None. And they're still trying to finish the projects from 2007, including Worthing and Waltrip, which are only 30% complete. And those two projects were associated with a company that lacked the experience to be able to build a high school building.
In the terms, when did they say they were going to start rebuilding? Did they set a date?
This building, those two buildings should have already been completed by now. They were associated with the 2007 bond. The internal audit is underway as we speak. We, as a board, have to approve an agenda item to be able to allocate funds for an external third-party auditor who is in no way affiliated, associated, or connected with HISD, or has no association with any of the construction companies that are currently doing business with HISD. We need a truly independent third-party construction auditor who's going to come in here and assist us in understanding best practices, implementation of fiscal responsibility, quality controls, cost containment measures to be able to have the community's trust in place again, following the law, appropriate professional standards and rules. Job Audit 2 demonstrates a failure to follow state law and policy. So many of the people that were associated with Job Audit 2 are no longer with the district.
Our teachers, frankly, have been held accountable oftentimes for test scores based on a measure that has no reliability and no validity. We've had turnover beyond anybody's reasonable expectation of what should be in place. They're held accountable for the smallest of issues, yet we have individuals spending millions and millions of our dollars that could be putting computers in classes, dollars that could be lowering class size, dollars that could be helping to ensure that our parents and families have the wraparound services necessary to help our students move forward. Yet no one takes a deep, hard look at what is going on with where the overwhelming majority of our tax dollars are spent. And that's around these contract issues, vendor issues. We've got to get a handle on that. We have to do a better job of it. And there needs to be at least as much attention paid to that issue as has been paid to the demonization of our teachers over the last 5 years.